1749, when the people of India gave to themselves a sovereign nation, a new democracy was born. The long debates of Constituent Assembly gave a roadmap for India's tryst with destiny. The Imperial Council Hall was henceforth the Parliament of India, whose doors opened with the Sanskrit inscription Lokam Dwaram Patranum Pashayem Tvam Vayam Vera, meaning open the door to thy people and let us see thee for the obtaining of the sovereignty. This sovereignty was the will of the people of India to be expressed through its representatives in the Parliament. And to see this noble expression take shape amidst the complexities of real-life politics, Dr. Sarvepalli Radhakrishnan was entrusted with the responsibility of conducting the upper house, the Raj Sabha. He was the first chairman of Raj Sabha, the first vice president of India.
To deserve in some modest measure the great faith of my people and devote the few years left to me to their service.
Had just adopted its new constitution. It had just elected the members of its new parliament. These members had the challenging task of realizing the values enshrined in the constitution, of raising the foundations of a new India as per its constitution. Radhakrishnan was born in 1888 in Tirutani, a temple town of Madras Presidency, now in Tamil Nadu. He was brought up in an environment of Hindu rituals, Vedic knowledge and Oriental traditions. He also had an exposure to Christianity as he studied in missionary educational institutions. The multicultural and multi-religious exposure had a strong bearing on his life and philosophy. Krishnan wrote scores of books. He rarely wrote about himself. Therefore, very little is known about his childhood. All we know is that he grew up amidst the fertile combination of Indian traditions and Christian philosophy. This helped him to develop philosophical and religious sensibilities at an early stage of life. He could discover the philosophical links among various religions and thoughts and based his work on this understanding. Radhakrishnan was a brilliant student. He was awarded scholarships throughout his academic career. In 1904, he joined Voorhees College in Vellore. But soon shifted to Madras Christian College. He graduated in European philosophy. Went on to write his postgraduate thesis on the ethics of Vedanta and its metaphysical presuppositions. The felicity with which he could master two different worlds of philosophy developed him into one of the greatest philosophers of all times. Within years, he was awarded George V Chair of Mental and Moral Science based at Kolkata University, and was followed by several lectures on international platforms. His Hebert lecture later took the shape of his famous book, An Idealist View of Life. In 1929, Radhakrishnan moved to England. He was the principal at Harris Manchester College. In 1931, he was knighted by George V, but he never used his title of Sir and preferred to use his academic title of Doctor with his name. The same year, Dr. Radhakrishnan returned to India. He became the Vice Chancellor at the newly founded Andhra University at Voltaire. It was now that he got the chance to realize his thoughts into policy and action. His career took a new form, that of an educationist. Further, in 1939 he was made the Vice Chancellor of Banaras Hindu University and thereafter the Chairman of University Education Commission in 1948. he authored the Commission's report in 1949 and laid down the roadmap for the university education in newly independent Union of India. As a teacher, Dr. Radhakrishnan was very popular. His students looked upon him as a philosopher and guide.
It is necessary that each one of us should think that the purpose of education is not merely physical fitness or mental alertness. It is the growth in spiritual sensitivity. Unless we develop that kind of spiritual sensitivity, we cannot be regarded as properly educated.
In 1921, when he left Mysore University for joining Kolkata University, his students came up with a rare gesture. They took him all the way from the university campus to the railway station in a flower-decked carriage pulled by the students themselves. They still remember him with nostalgia. Radhakrishnan believed that the right education could solve many ills of the society. He wanted to improve the quality of education and build up a strong relationship between the teacher and the student.
Children must be taught the history of the different nations where they will perceive their uniqueness. They must be taught, even when they are young, the elements of modern science and technology. They must be given glimpses into world literature so that their own minds are sharpened and feelings refined. It is my earnest desire that our children are treated as human beings and not as automata.
Radhakrishnan was globally acclaimed for his work of philosophy. He introduced the thinking of Western idealist philosophers in India.
What the philosopher does is more or less the same thing as the scientist does. One of the scientific metaphysicians of the West, Alexander, said he was propounding an empirical metaphysics. And he tells us the method of philosophy is exactly the method of science.
He mastered the classics of Hindu philosophy like Upanishads, Bhagavad Gita, Brahma Sutra and commentaries on Sankara, Ramanuj and Madhav.
Our scriptures have said, Uttama Sahajavastha, Dvitiya Dhyana Dharana, Tritiya Pratima Puja, Homa Yatra Chaturdhika. Sahaja Avastha. Live always soaked in the nature of God. Do not have one instant of your life separated from God. Whatever you happen to do, do in the consciousness of that Supreme.
He was also equipped with Buddhist and Jain thoughts, as well as philosophies of Western thinkers such as Plato, Plotinus, Kant, Bradley and Bergson. He also credited with introducing Indian philosophy to global audience. His book, Indian Philosophy, was hailed as a philosophical classic and a literary masterpiece, both by readers and critics.
Dharma is to be performed by all of us. Anityani sharirani, vibhavo naiva shashvata, mrutyus sannihito nityam, tasmat kartavyam dharma sangraha. You have to perform dharma. That's the only obligation that you have in this world. Dharma is paropakara. Adharma is parapidana. That's the one simple definition we have had. What's the use of expanding it in series of books? If you understand hurting another man is adharma, pleasing another man is dharma, you are performing dharma.
1947, India became independent. The then Prime Minister Jawaharlal Nehru looked for people who would steer the country through the difficult times and shape its destiny as a proud nation. Dr. Radhakrishnan was among the few who were called upon to serve the country in new capacities as member of Executive Board of UNESCO and member of Constituent Assembly. His fabled speech on Indian tricolour in Constituent Assembly reverberates even today. Nehru appointed Dr. Radhakrishnan as the ambassador to Soviet Union. And when he returned to India, Stalin commented, "You are the first person to treat me as a human being and not as a monster. You are leaving us and I am sad. I want you to live long." He was highly impressed with Radhakrishnan's outlook and worldview. Radhakrishnan and Nehru did not think alike, yet they were bound by some common beliefs. They both had unwavering faith in the destiny of man and democracy, and their concern for common man and reality united them.
There is something great. We say Satyameva Jayate. Our motto is truth alone prevails. Truth is the name which we give to God. He is Satya Swarupa. He is Satya Narayana. We say truth prevails.
At the time when Nehru was laying the foundation stones of Indian democracy, Radhakrishnan emerged at its most credible voice that reverberated from China to Peru. His philosophy built bridges between Indian spiritualism and Western democracy. He brought legitimacy to democracy among millions of Indians who otherwise would have found it difficult to digest the individualistic system.
The unity of the world cannot rest merely on political arrangements or economic alliances or social factors. They can rest only if you are able to produce a sense of psychological coherence, a sense of world community among the people themselves. Literature has a great part to play in engendering this consciousness that we all belong to one human family.
In 1952, Dr. Radhakrishnan became the first Vice President of India and therefore the first Chairman of Rajya Sabha. Dr. Radhakrishnan served as Vice President of India for 2 terms. And in 1962 was elected as its second president.
A nation without a vision, it is said, perishes. The nation to which we belong has the vision of democracy. And when we call democracy, what we mean by it is providing every individual with adequate opportunities for the development of his soul or spirit, for the development of his personality.
During his presidential tenure, India witnessed strained relations with China and Pakistan. Marked with 2 full-scale wars in 1962 and 1965. India also witnessed the sad demise of 2 Prime Ministers, Jawaharlal Nehru and Lal Bahadur Shastri. But despite 2 wars and the loss of towering personalities like Nehru and Shastri, Dr. Radhakrishnan, as President, ensured smooth transition of governments. He ensured that India would move ahead resolutely on the path of democracy. He had a task before him. He had to wade in uncharted waters. It was a new country, with a new parliament, with a new constitution, and a house comprising of members who were, for the first time, parliamentarians of a free and sovereign nation. MPs not only represented New India, but also their states, their languages, their cultures, and most of all, their parties and ideologies. If there was a unifying idea of a new nation, there were also fault lines of caste, creed, region, religion, language and ideology. And it was the job of Sarvepalli Radhakrishnan to steer them all towards a common national goal in Rajya Sabha. while ensuring their individual voices in a federal structure.
He was